All right, our next game here, Colts at the Jets. The return of Anthony Richardson, and it was a good one. Completed 20 of 30 for 272 passing yards. He throws for a touchdown. He also ran the ball 10 times, 32 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. We got to hear from Richardson after the game on bouncing back in his return for the win.
I just hope my teammates see that I'm willing to do anything for them. I'm willing to put my body on the line and go sacrifice anything out there on the field for them. But I definitely just appreciate them just for trusting me and just believing in me throughout the whole process, regardless of what was going on. Just shout out to Coach Nation, man. I just appreciate all the support.
Did a step back the past 2 weeks help you get prepared for today, or how did that change your performance today?
It kind of just let me relax a little bit. Although I didn't necessarily want to relax too much, but it just allowed me to take a step back and just clean up some things that I had to clean up. And that was really my focus, is making sure, like, when I did get the opportunity again, making sure I was at the best of my ability and I was doing the right thing for the team.
Yeah, we talked about Anthony Richardson on Fantasy Football pregame. Could he return? This is a guy that was drafted as a top 5 fantasy quarterback across the industry as well. I saw some people that had him as high as 2 or 3. And so could Anthony Richardson return to that as we enter Monday Night Football? He's the 4th best quarterback in fantasy, 28.1 fantasy points as you see it there on your screen. We tried to talk Lawrence Jackson into stop. We were on Fantasy Football pregame. If you missed it, like, Jay and I were like, Lawrence, we think he can do this. And, Lawrence was like, no. Like, he had bailed on Anthony Richardson.
Left him for dead, huh?
I know. We were like, dude,
Tough.
Lawrence, he's your guy. And he's like, I want no part of him. He's like, done. There you go. This is Lawrence
today
in the group chat as well. Lawrence never lost faith. All jokes aside, Lawrence never lost faith in Anthony Richardson. Wouldn't trade him. Has him in a bunch of leagues. Is trying to trade for him in other leagues as well. So shout out to Lawrence, who never wavered. Season high in fantasy points, passing yards, completions, and completion percentage for him. And one of the things we talked about here is that going into the game, I think no team had given up more rushing touchdowns to opposing quarterbacks than your New York Football Jets.
This is the easiest formula ever. There was a lot of easy formulas in this game. Jonathan Taylor over 17.5 rushing attempts. You could sleepwalk in the third quarter of that one. Richardson rushing for 2 scores. Guys, he looked accurate in this game, though. I was genuinely impressed. It feels like the reset was really good for him.
Yep. First game where he's had a positive completion percentage over expected, highest completion percentage of his career. I mean, and also, like, I don't think he was getting lucky either. He looked better.
He played really well.
He had an elite PFF grade, elite QBR, passer rating, everything. Like, he just played really, really well, and he looked like the reset had done him a world of good.
And they were without their starting left tackle in this game, too, and he looked confident.
So here's my question. One of the questions we got asked on the Football Night in America pod, has this one performance, has he turned the corner? Is he now all the way back? Or was this just he had a good day at the office against a bad defense that's really struggling? Now he's got Detroit.
This is
next
the
week he's got Detroit. Then he's at New England. Then the Colts have a bye. Then they're at Denver. This upcoming those are 3 good defenses in a row and a week that you can't use them when he's on a bye.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he can fully regress all the way back to preseason expectations where some people in the industry had him as like QB5, QB6. I don't think he's that level. But
people had him at QB3.
I was going to say, that was almost consensus at 6 or 5.
Oh, I saw people that had him at 3 and 2. Some people took him 1 overall. Like, there were people.
That was just Lawrence Jackson.
No. I mean, I'm not gonna throw anyone under the bus. But yes, no. There's very prominent people I saw take him number 1 overall in industry drafts. And I mean, whatever. He was pitched to me as a ride or die candidate. Like, I mean, people were all in on A-Rich.
He's got pretty good job security now. This will buy him I think this probably buys him the rest of the season. Would you rather have Anthony Richardson or Justin Herbert?
I would rather have Justin Herbert. When you think about this upcoming schedule is awful coming up. And
it's awful, but he's probably going to have to be dropping back and kind of compiling stats, even if it's not pretty.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying with Detroit. I would want nothing to do with this. I even think New England is at least plucky.
Oh, for sure.
Like they're
and then you look at it. By the way, it's not till so fine. They get the Jaguars in Week 18. Most fantasy leagues don't play in Week 18, and you like the matchup of the Giants in Week 17, the fantasy finals. But again, as you sit here and you're again next week they're the Lions. Week 13 they're at the Patriots. Week 14 win and get in week. You don't have them, and then the fantasy playoffs at the Broncos, home to the Titans, at the Giants. This upcoming schedule for the Colts is brutal. Fantasy trade deadline is passed in a lot of leagues, but some leagues it's still available. Like, would you be trying to sell high on Anthony Richardson? In a non-keeper league, I absolutely would. If my trade deadline was still around, I would absolutely be trying to sell Richardson. And honestly, any of the Colts. I want to talk about Josh Downs here for a second. One of the concerns about Josh Downs, he'd been so good with Flacco, right? And he'd had the one big game with Richardson, but that was kind of on a busted coverage. It was the big play. He didn't even get hit in stride. He had to stop, wait, sort of come back for a step to grab it, and then run into the end zone as well. Did you see enough from this game? Because, Connor, I know you watched every snap of this game. Did you see enough from Richardson and Downs that you feel like you don't have to worry about the inconsistency from Richardson when it comes to Downs, given his talent level?
I wouldn't completely throw that out, but Downs is just the way he gets open consistently does give him some kind of floor. I mean, some of those catches yesterday, he was wide open against good defenders, but he's just such a good route runner, and it felt like Richardson was throwing with a little bit more anticipation to him yesterday. So maybe watching Flacco work with him for a couple of weeks kind of opened Richardson's eyes. Okay, if I'm on time to this guy, good things will happen. So I feel much better about Downs going forward.
Yeah, by the way, you'd rather have Downs than Pittman. And maybe, by the way, Richardson also seeing Flacco saying, like, I don't care who Pittman is, like going more to Downs. Because Richardson as a young player might be like, well, I have to go to, Pittman's the alpha dog and I got to just make sure I feed him. And maybe that opened that up as well, because you'd certainly rather Josh Downs than Michael Pittman the rest of the way. He's now had at least 12 fantasy points in 7 of 9 games this year.
He's their best receiver. It's not even a debate anymore.
No, it isn't.
On the Jets side, not.
Wow. Your Commanders lost 2 in a row, Matthew.
Yeah, but you know what? But by the way, it's all found money. We won 4 games last year.
Yeah.
Right? You know what? Jaden Daniels.
Be careful with the found money take in the NFL.
Hang on.
Yeah.
You know what?
I've convinced myself of this
stop
before.
it. You know what Jaden Daniels didn't do this year?
What's that?
Run into the stadium holding a flag. You know what I mean? Like with pomp and circumstance. Stop it.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever. Has he been any better? Which season was he better in?
Aaron Rodgers hasn't been good at all. No one's saying that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. He's sitting here saying, we've lost 2 in a row. That's fine. We're 7-4, and we're playing with house money. Yep. Like, again, the preseason win total for the Commanders was like 6. That's what I'm saying when we play with house money. Like, we have done much better this year than anyone had any expectations.
Yep.
Yeah. I hope we make the playoffs.
Things aren't spiraling out of control.
We're fine.
Yeah.
We have to beat Dallas next week. If we don't beat Dallas, then you guys can make fun of me.
Yeah.
But
no, look, I like the Jets. I was a Jets fan last year. But it is kind of magnificent that Aaron Rodgers has just completely collapsed. Like, you could not feel, I feel no sympathy for Aaron Rodgers. The fact that he's 3-8, he's playing poorly. This has gone so horribly wrong across the board. At least Breece Hall had a good game yesterday.
Yeah, he was
statistically.
great yesterday.
He looks great. He looks healthy. He's had these weird stretches where it's like, is Breece Hall healthy or not? He looked fine. Devontae and Garrett Wilson.
I mean, you tell me Garrett Wilson, if you told me before the game Garrett Wilson is going to get 8 targets against the Colts, I'm like, that's 100 yards and a touchdown easy.
Yeah.
The Colts are not a good defense. 8 targets against the Colts, and he winds up 4 for 18. It's his worst fantasy game of the year. It's his fewest yards since week 11 of last year. Season lows in catch rate and yards per target for Garrett Wilson. Like, I mean, I'm sure.
And it's not his fault. That's the worst part of it all.
I am sure you've seen the memes and all the tweets about what the Jets' winning percentage was under Zach Wilson versus Aaron Rodgers. And just, and what the record was under Zach Wilson versus Aaron Rodgers. Like, this is bad.
For as bad as Rodgers has been, this game was on the defense. Like, you can't have this conversation.
Rodgers hasn't been that bad
You
overall.
can't let Anthony Richardson go down the field in 5 plays with the game on the line.
Yeah.
Twice, by the way, they did that in the
you've
fourth
heard
quarter.
people talking about how he can't be called Sauce anymore. It's just Ahmed now. You're not allowed to be called Sauce Gardner.
There were people on my post-game show doing that.
Yeah.
Calling him Ahmed?
Yes.
That's fine. I just hope that Mike Williams
Been
texts
that bad
Aaron
for
Rodgers and lets him know how it feels to play in a playoff game later this season, because Rodgers
certainly
won't have
looking
played
that
in
way.
one since 2021. And Mike Williams will be part of apparently the division-winning Pittsburgh
All right,
Steelers.
we've spent enough time on a 3-win
The
team.
Red Lean. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.